Okay, good to be with y'all. Do you know what the plural of y'all is? All y'all. It's good to be with all y'all. And by the way, it is 5 o'clock somewhere, and it's 5 o'clock here just about. So I'm going to try to run through this and let you guys transition into your festivities tonight. Kathleen talked about how to build value in your franchise. Paul talked about how to underwrite that value when the time is right for you guys to sell your business. I'm going to talk a little bit about how to fully tap the value through not only the planning process, but also the confidential sale execution process. And one of the ways I'm going to do that is I'm going to contrast the difference between selling a home versus selling a business. And so, can I see a show of hands of those who have sold a home? About everybody. How about those who have sold a business? Almost nobody, right? One or two. There are some interesting contrasts that I'll leave you with before we have a quick Q&A. But what I want to just do real quick is introduce my team. I'm one of 6 that work at Osborne Home Care Group. I spend the vast majority of my time courting, assessing, moving prospective purchasers. That's my main role. So if you think about your business, you have an intake person. Our intake person is Bob. He's a CPA. He's an accredited business evaluator. He goes through an analysis to determine whether a buyer is qualified financially, whether they're qualified managerially, whether they have the chops to do what it takes to transition into company ownership. And then once they make it through the Bob filter, they come to me, and I take it from there to negotiation, to execution of the letter of intent. And then Sandy Wolf is our deal execution director, and so is Steve Burrell. Steve's a former Home Instead franchisee. They execute a lot of our deals. Kristen and my wife Angie are both in the valuation group. Valuations being very important because most of our clients, which are top performers in the industry, they don't come to us when they're ready to sell. They come to us when they're ready to get ready, okay? What am I worth? What do I have to do to be worth more? What are some strategic timing considerations I need to know about? What is the ideal time? When is the ideal time to pursue a sale? Kathleen had mentioned in the introductions that we've done over 100 transactions in the Home Instead network. I see Adam here today. We did his with the Ruse in Texas. Our last one was in Salt Lake City. A couple things I want to point out is that the number one way to achieve a top dollar exit payday for your franchise when the time is right to sell is to run a competitive process. And a competitive process is defined as 2 or more qualified and motivated prospective purchasers pursuing your business concurrently. So those who sold a home during COVID many times saw the house get bid up. When you run a competitive process, it's not uncommon that the purchase price exceeds the offering price. The key to that is to attract a competitive process. The key to attract a competitive process is to be prepared, to plan out the event and to understand the dynamic. So in essence, you're going to appeal primarily to 2 different type of prospects. The first prospect, which is the vast majority of the transactions we've done in the Home Instead network, are what we call investor operators. Think of them as managing owners. Most of them come out of large corporate. Either large corporate left them and they don't want to go back, or they're going to find their company ownership opportunity and leave big corporate, or some of them even leave to fully devote themselves to a search to find a company to operate. We encounter all kinds, but the biggest, fattest part of the market is the executive in transition that has aspirations to operate a company. Many are attracted to this industry because on this side of COVID, we are widely viewed as pandemic proof, we're widely viewed as recession proof, and we're widely viewed as essential services. And so on this side of COVID, there's more awareness among these high net worth executives in transition. And as a result of that, the buyer market has been very strong. I'm going to touch briefly on the 5 enablers of full value outcomes. And one thing I just want to touch on real quick is that most of our clients who come to us and say, I want to monetize the value of my business, meaning whatever the value is, I want to convert it to cash or cash equivalents, it's typically not the economically superior thing to do. If it's purely a cash flow consideration, the economically superior thing to do is to keep your business. Because when you sell it, you're essentially converting a perpetual revenue stream into a fixed revenue stream. And what that means is whoever buys your business, in essence, is going to pay you 4 or 5 times what you're going to earn in the business over the next 4 or 5 years. They're going to pay you what you're going to earn in the business for the next 4 or 5 years. So from an exit strategy point of view, I can sell my business now for what I'm going to earn the next 5 years, or I can own it for another 5 years, make just as much money, and still have my exit payday and have 5 less years of retirement I have to worry about. And so if it's a retirement event for you, the goal is to, in my view, own it as long as practical, as long as you got some gas in the tank, you've got some passion, you're effective in your business. The economically superior thing is to continue to own it. Most people want to monetize the value of their business for the purpose of retirement. And by the way, I will tell you that high achievers make lousy retirees, okay? I've been to many retirement parties that didn't stick here over the last 3 or 4 years, so keep that in mind as well. You're in a very good place. The best days in this industry, I am confident, are tomorrow, not yesterday. So quick 5 things about enablers of full value outcomes. Kathleen mentioned beginning with the end in mind. We really talk to our clients about the very end, meaning what is your longevity risk? And the definition of longevity risk is that if you are blessed to outlive your life expectancy, you might be cursed and outlive your money, right? And so starting an exit plan with what are my net proceeds going to be after federal taxes, after state taxes, after transaction fees, after attorney fees? What are my net proceeds going to be? What do they need to be? And then how important is that number going to be to my retirement savings so that in my golden years, I don't have to live with the angst of longevity risk? We've all taken care of clients who outlived their life expectancy. We've all taken care of clients who ran out of money as a result of the expense of home care and other end-of-life care type of expenses. And so we really take a retirement planning point of view in evaluating your exit payday and providing strategic timing considerations. Put wisdom to work for you is what I'm going to emphasize, and the way I'm going to do that is by contrasting selling a home versus selling a business. Widen your window means 2 things. One, as Kathleen mentioned, get 3 years out in front of it because it's going to be a big event. It'll be probably 25 to 33% of your total investment return, just the number that you sell your business for, okay? It's a monumental contributor to what your home instead investment return is going to be. Plus, when you're in market, if you're a patient seller and you've got a lot of momentum when you're in market and all of a sudden you lose 3 24/7 clients or 4 while we're trying to sell the business, your business has dropped by 33%, we got to cut bait and come back some other day because we're not going to have a good outcome with the unfortunate event where we lost that many 24/7 clients at one time. So when you give yourself a wide window to go to market, you give yourself time to cut bait and come back on a brighter day. Because you only get one exit payday. When that wire clears, your exit payday is behind you and there's no number 2. Think of it that way. And then preparing to be opportunistic really means that we have a number of home instead clients that we know what their value is. We know what their exit payday timing is. We have clients that think they're probably going to be ready in 2026. Well, if in 2025 we encounter a unique buyer with a strong resume, a lot of capital, a high credit score, the chutzpah to take a risk of buying a business, which normally means they're signing a personal guarantee for a loan that's worth more than they are. They're betting the farm, so to speak. Those type of buyers don't come around very often, and so if one comes around and we say to them, look, they're not on the market, they plan to sell in about a year, but if you want to pay a premium, they'll probably consider selling now. That's a perfect example of being opportunistic. You have a lot of negotiating leverage when you sell your business when you're not on the market because you have choices, okay? Looking at your business through the eyes of the next person who owns it, which in our world is the managing owner, the person that lives in the community, has a controlling interest, is involved in the business. There's really three distinct economic benefits they're getting from buying a home instead. The first is they get a W-2 every year from an employer that he or she controls, right? I control the culture, I control the strategy, I'm only limited by my energy, my effort, my talents, okay? I can build this and shape this into the type of company that I always wanted to work for but had no control. So getting a W-2 from an employer you control is, for talented folks that come out of big corporate, that's a big deal. You've probably heard the saying that if you're not the lead dog, the view never changes. Well, a lot of the folks that buy home instead, they want the view to change because they want to run the show. And that's benefit number one. Benefit number two is, Kathleen talked about discretionary earnings, the cash flow over and above what you pay yourself. It's discretionary because you can distribute it to yourself as income. You can keep it on the balance sheet for a rainy day. You can reinvest it back into the business for growth, acquisitions, whatever the case might be. Regardless of what decisions you make to do with those discretionary earnings, the value of your business is those discretionary earnings. That's going to tell a buyer and a banker, what do I have to reinvest in the business? What do I have to distribute as income? What do I have to ensure that I'm going to be sufficiently capitalized to make payroll and continue to be a very strong going concern? And then the third economic benefit, which is the big one, is the proverbial gain on sale. And just a quick side-by-side comparison of a relatively small home instead to make the point about discretionary earnings and how important that is. This side-by-side comparison shows the exact same revenue and gross margin for two different home insteads, okay? Once you get below the direct expense line, all the noise is in your indirect operating expenses. Do I run personal expenses? Do I have one-time investment expenses? The big thing about preparing for a sale is we have yet to see a home instead that can't operate their business off of an indirect operating structure that's about 20 to 25% of their revenue. So when you're looking at a benchmark point of view and you say, okay, I'm a $2 million a year business, take 25% of that, and that's a pretty good indirect operating target. Well, this example on the right, their indirect operating expenses are running over 30% of revenue on the left. On the right, they are benefiting from fixed cost leverage, economies of scale. They're running the high at 22.5 to in the latest 12 months, expenses under 20%. The home instead on the left is worth $1 million. The home instead on the right is worth $2 million. Just the preparation to get your indirect operating expenses in the right level where they need to be can have a significant impact on your eventual exit payday. A gain on sale, that occurs when you sell assets in your company other than when you sell a non-inventory asset. What's important to understand, when you sell your business, you're not selling your entity, you're not selling your employer ID number, you're not selling your franchise agreement. The new owner is going to form a new company. They're going to enter into a new 5+5 agreement with Home Instead. They're going to have a new employer ID number. They're going to hire employees under their employment forms instead of the former ones that they were on. And the reason that they do that is to mitigate successor liability. If they buy your entity and they assume your employer ID number, if you are audited for taxes, they're going to be audited for taxes. If you have a wage and hour claim, they're going to have that claim. Now, you can indemnify them contractually, but they're still going to have to spend money, legal fees, to show that they are, in fact, indemnified from this successor liability. So no buyer attorney wants to do an entity transaction. They want to buy assets. Most of your assets are intangible. Your reputation, your knowledge, your know-how, your brand awareness. All those are intangible assets. So the gain on sale is that capital gain event that is going to be a tax event, and it's also going to be a major contributor to your eventual investment return. So to wrap up, I'm going to contrast quickly the 10 big differences between selling your home and selling your home instead. Number one is when you sell your home, you want everybody to know. When you sell your home instead, you don't want anybody to know. And that's absolutely imperative because you don't want to spook your key people in the office who don't know who they're going to be working for. You don't want to give them an incentive to interview with somebody else. The last thing you want when you're selling your business is to lose a key person because that will devalue it substantially. Number two, when you sell your home, you're selling shelter, right? A couple of walkthroughs and an inspection and you're good to go. When you're selling your home instead, you're selling an income stream. And the accuracy of that income stream and your ability to document that income stream is very important. When you sell your home, you're selling a tangible asset. When you sell your business, you're selling an intangible asset. When you sell your home, you go to the multiple listing service, and overnight, there's one platform, and everybody who's looking for a home in your range is going to see your home. In today's market, as far as we've come digitally, it's still very fragmented. We advertise on about 10 digital deal platforms. Sometimes we're in the Wall Street Journal, sometimes we're in the USA Today, but our prospective purchaser process is called No Stone Unturned, and it's a continuous improvement because it's ever-changing in terms of how to reach out to executives in transition that might be interested in buying a service company like a home care firm. With your home, 100% of your cash is going to be at closing. With your home instead, about 85 to 90% of your cash is going to be at closing because the buyer and the banker is going to want you to have some financial skin in the game so that you will be very involved in the transaction to ensure that the next owner is successful. When you sell your home, you don't care about fit, whether they fit into the neighborhood or the kids fit into the school system. When you sell your home instead, you care everything about fit because that's how the decision is going to be made at the franchisor level as to whether somebody has the credentials to rise to the level of being a home instead owner. When you sell your home, it's a simple transaction. Fill in a few blanks and you're good to go. When you sell your business, it's a customized transaction. Every deal is different, and there's a lot of content that ends up going into these purchase agreements. When you sell your home, you have a 2-hour inspection, and you're good to go. When you sell your business, they're going to be looking under every rock, every stone for 2 months. Your financial statements, your royalty reports, your tax returns, your KPIs, things of that nature. It's a comprehensive, because again, they're betting the ranch that they can sustain your results and take it to the next level. If they're not successful, they're going to be in financial hardship. They're going to leave no stone unturned in terms of evaluating your business. And then lastly, with your home, what do the homes in the neighborhood sell for? That'll give you a pretty good idea what your home might sell for. In your business, we use what's called the capitalization of earnings approach. Without getting detailed and technical about that, what that really means is the vast majority of our home instead transactions trade between multiples of 3 and 6 of the last 12 months EBITDA. 3 and 6 is an outlier. 3 means you're distressed, you're declining, your business is unattractive. 6 means you're an enterprise owner, growing like a Wyoming weed, everything's very strong. Most of our transactions are going to be in that 4 to 5 multiple of EBITDA range by the time the underwriting and the evaluation is completed. So with that, I will turn it over to Kathleen for wrap-up and questions.
Thank you. Thanks, Scott.